Ladies and gentlemen, big hairy news.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hero News. Kia ora, Chewy. You got your hot toddy there?
I have the tea.
Oh, how do you have your tea?
Tea.
Bag in?
In a mug.
In a man's mug.
Yeah,
that's good.
in a bag in, because
Yeah.
otherwise all the nutrients escape.
So bag in for the whole time you're drinking?
Yeah, because I'm tough. I'm tough. I'm a whiskey drinker. A
You
tea
need to-
bag in.
You need to start that sentence again and sound a little bit tougher when you're saying it. No, it's good. I'm tough. I'm tough. You need to be a bit
I'm
more
a tough,
assertive.
tough, a big boy.
Big boy.
To bag in the tea.
Kia ora whānau. Welcome back to another edition. Last
Oh, I
one
burned,
for us.
I burned my lips.
You stop it because you don't seem tough anymore. That was a very untough thing to say. Welcome back. Last show for the week for us. Of course, kids will be along tomorrow for Bright Hearing News, doing their thing, entertaining you in a different sort of a way. And, oh, look at this. Dresnort, early fee. Dresnort, early fee. And Bubba, I have to test again. I wonder if that means Bubba's got COVID. What do you think that means? I have to test again. Well, I'm, just to show my manly credentials, chamomile tea, teaspoon of honey, bag in, whole time. So there you go.
Jesus.
Yes? Oh, no, that wasn't to me. That was just said in a way. Kai Matara. Mark Mitchell's racism runs in his family. His grandfather was Frank Gill. Gill was an immigration minister under Muldoon and supported the Dawn raids. Really?
A multi-generational dickhead.
Really?
What do you know?
Look at this. We haven't even started the show. Late fee. We've been going for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, dude. I'm buying the 50 characters. I'm using that. I did that one up to my 18-year-old.
Here's a fun fact for everybody.
Yep.
I used to work with Robbie.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
And
We used to sell video games together
Oh,
to people that could nay afford them. But
EB
we
Games?
managed it.
EB Games
EB
days?
Games.
EB Games.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Tonight we're going to be having a look at the latest version of this government's way of making the poorest families and households struggle just a little bit more next year.
Oh, good.
Because, they've had it too good for too long. Those
Too
vulnerable
fucking
families.
long.
Too fucking long. And also, I know we've talked about this a couple of times this week, but Tia with Moana talked about the regulatory standards bill. And it was obviously, because who are we talking about? It was very, very good. And so we've got 3 clips to play of that. It's only a 12-minute clip altogether. We're probably watching half the clip. But it's very, very good. Looking about what the RSB is, what the impact, what they're doing now with regulatory impact statements as well, because that's supposed to be a part of it, and also the response to the RSB in the House. That's what we're going to have a look at tonight.
So sorry, Pat. Have you activated me with my secret hidden phrase?
Maybe. Oh, sorry.
RSB.
Yes.
Make your submission.
Got to do that, don't we? And interesting.
You got to make your submission.
I just to make it a little bit. I'm going to spoil a little bit of the story. I think in the story, Moana references last year's first attempt at submitting to the RSB, and they say there was 23,000 commissions. Ironically, in the first 2 days of this submission round, there was 23,000 submissions. So
What's
busy.
What's that sound, David?
Yeah.
Is it the sound of drums in the deep? Have you overplayed your hand again?
Again. Huge thanks to all of our patrons. It's a really lovely thing. I've noticed there's been a little bit of an uptick in the sign-ups in the last couple of days. I was wondering, too, maybe they're just signing up in the last couple of days to come and have a meetup on Friday in Auckland, and then they'll unsign And I thought, oh, well, so it's like paying a $10 ticket to come to the event.
How mercenary of them.
But there's been a few in the last few days. It's had some, I don't know exactly why. Maybe you enjoyed Te Pāti Māori. Maybe you've been a lurker and you've just gone, oh, I think it's probably time. But we thank you for being a part of our patronage. I can't show you the Patreon page at the moment. I was looking for that word because just below here it talks about the Patreon meetup plans. And of course, they're secret squirrel just for patrons. But this is patreon.com / Big Hairy News. Patreon.com / Big Hairy News if you want to be a part of us. There is a Patreon meetup in Auckland Friday week. So that's tomorrow week, 8 days. I hope you've got it in your calendars. Patreons, all your details are on the Patreon page. But for all of us normies, what we're going to do is meet up at the Long Room at 7 p.m. on Friday night. So the Long Room is 114 Ponsonby Road in the city, and there'll be a meetup there next Friday at 7 p.m. Patrons, you guys got something else on another day, another time sort of thing. But that's what the general meetup's going to be. And I don't know how many people will come. Got no idea. So the good thing about the Long Room is they've given us kind of three options. We've got kind of a corner of the courtyard that can hold 50, 60 people. And then there's a room out the back that can hold 80 people, but we haven't booked that. But they said if we get a bit bigger, we can go there. And then the whole place holds 450 Chewy. I'm sure we'll probably get there as well. So we have options.
How many people we got in we got 476 people watching right now.
They'll all be
easy.
There. They'll all be there.
Easy.
And just a reminder as well, of course, it's that one, isn't it? No, that's Patreon. No, it's that one. The merch page is open at the moment. This will be, I guess, the last time we get to talk about Women's Refuge. For the month of May, we've been supporting Women's Refuge. We've been supporting Women's Refuge because the government has decided to make life more difficult with the pay equity for the most vulnerable people, normally women in New Zealand. So we thought, let's go work with a group that has vulnerable women on their doorstep every single day, and that's Women's Refuge. This is a safe night. A $20 donation gives a safe night, helps a woman and her children escape family violence. So safenight.net if you want to just support that directly. If you want to support both them and us, then what you can do is head to bhnshop.nz. Every hoodie that you buy, every hoodie that is for sale at the moment, one hoodie, we will also donate one safe night. So you spend $100 on a hoodie and 20 of that immediately goes to Women's Refuge. You get a t-shirt. 2 people get 1 t-shirt each. For every 2 t-shirts, we also donate a safe night. The only other thing we want to tell you as well is the Fuck Around and Find Out t-shirts and hoodies are there. Same deal applies. You get a Fuck Around Find Out hoodie, and that donates 1 safe night to Women's Refuge. But also, we thought because these took a bit longer for us to get out than we first indicated, if you buy a hoodie or a t-shirt, then what we'll do, you down here, there's Fuck Around Find Out stickers. We will send you a 5-pack of Fuck Around Find Out stickers with that hoodie or t-shirt, and that has a value of about $500. Now there it is, $22. So a $22 value. So you buy a Fuck Around Find Out hoodie, it's a safe night worth $20. It's stickers worth $22.50. And if you get thrown in or taken out for the safe night t-shirt, you'll get a 5-pack as well, $22. As a little bonus and a little thank you to people who are buying the merch, Chewy. So, anything you want to... Oh, the other thing, sorry, one more thing about that. It's the 29th of May. So the deal to do with supporting Women's Refuge and us at the same time finishes, I guess it's Saturday, because Sunday is the 1st. So finishes Saturday if you want to support both us and them. Sorry, Chewy, you got some stuff?
Nice. Look, chat's going off. YouTube chat. Apparently, there's some sort of point system in effect. I don't know if that's anything that we've done. The room is split. Some people hate it. There's points going on. I apparently have 50 XP points right now.
You do?
So I don't know what's going on.
What have I got? Have I got anything?
Well, you're not in the chat, are you?
I sort of am. I can be. Do you know I've got the power to be in every chat all at once? Watch this. Hello, no matter where you're watching, I've just gone into every chat. I've gone into YouTube, and I've gone onto Twitch.
We're just talking about
I've gone
YouTube.
into Facebook. I've gone everywhere just with one little hello.
Anyway, some people don't want the game in the chat. I'm just saying that we're getting very minimal minimum wage increase.
30 something cents.
Cost of living very bad. Rates are going up. So just take your YouTube points. Pay your rates bill with your YouTube points.
Yeah. I don't know what it means.
Your top fan badges from Facebook. Things aren't that bad.
Fan badge is interesting. I was thinking about memberships for YouTube during the week, and I've got a bit of time this week, and I might think some more about that, where we can give you a chance to brand yourself. My only concern, Chewy, is if we did badges like you and me, they'd all be you, and I'd feel sad. That would be the only thing that would make me sad. Maybe we could do.
One of my workmates commented today that I have my own face on my water bottle.
Yes. Oh, you do. Maybe we could do a Nala and Alva thing for the chat. People could have a Nala or Alva. Maybe we don't have a Nala tonight, and the camera's not on anyway. All right, listen, this is ridiculous, but let's get through these first. For some reason, Donna just goes, "Hey, have $9." Kiwi Bird, National Act New Zealand first took New Zealand from law and order to poor and disorder. Hey, I see what you did there. Wonder how many points this is. Can you help, Chewy? Because I don't understand what's going on there. And Citizen Gold, late fee. I was hanging out at Elixir on Chewy's Lane in Te Whanganui Atara in my Tax Wealth More hoodie that arrived this morning.
Nice.
I see I've made a couple of mistakes.
Just hang outside Parliament and Treasury. Just mill around in that hoodie, please.
The only thing that I personally think that could be better than this lovely conversation we're having right now is to look at this face for a wee while. Because you know how much we love him. How much we love him. We love him heaps. No. Okay.
I'm willing to bet, just before we get into the story, because we all know that Mike Hoskins is a clothes horse. He just always has a very eclectic wardrobe because he doesn't give a fuck about the rest of our eyeballs. He's wearing a plain grey polo shirt. Yeah. Like you could buy something like that from Kmart quite easily for like $1.50.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that if he has bought that, he probably paid $850 for it.
Yeah, possibly. Just before we get going, Rajan wants to just remind people to ignore Rajan, please. Just XP farming at the moment. So there you go. I genuinely have no idea what we're talking about with that. I genuinely have no idea.
Yeah, it's not something that we've rolled out. So
it's the cool kids, is it? Talking about stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, this is actually quite a short one, but it's kind of hilarious as well. Do you remember when this government got in and there was a lot of high-profile leaks from quite inner workings of this government? Well, apparently the leaks have continued quite a lot. There's been quite a lot of leaks, so much so that the Prime Minister has had to address it with his best mate Ferrari owning Mike Hosking this morning.
Exactly. Brian Roach, and you and I have talked about this a number of times. I think, without blowing my own trumpet, I've been proved to be right. This was...
Hey, if there's anything Luxon wants to do to Mike Hosking, it's blow his trumpet. So, yeah.
Without blowing my own trumpet.
Yeah, that's your job, Luxon. Without blowing my own trumpet, while you're down there, cradle the balls.
Of leaking in the public service, they don't like you. They're out to get you.
It's true.
Well, they may not like us. The point is we have a politically neutral public service.
No, you don't.
No, well,
You've got a bunch of leakers.
Well, we've got some leakers. I mean, I think, and the problem is those leaks actually undermine the actual other people in the public service who are actually very, very good. And I think that's...
How does that work? How does a leak, like, forget the government, if you're a secretary in a big business, front desk person, and you leaked, how does it undermine the salespeople out the back? Just trying to figure that one out, actually. I think it might undermine the government, but I don't think it undermines it. It sounds like Luxon's trying to go, well, the people you're most being unfair on are your colleagues. And the colleagues are going like, no, we're right. Yeah, no, it's not us who are being embarrassed by these leaks. But apparently Luxon seems to think that This is most going to impact other public servants.
Pretty unfair. Right. So I don't know whether it's more or less than what other governments have encountered.
But I mean, what's he going to...
I'm guessing more. Just a guess, but I'm guessing more.
It seems more.
Yeah, it seems
almost
more.
Immediately.
Does seem more.
Do about it.
Well, I mean, we've just got to keep reiterating the point, and we've got to keep investigating them when they happen if we can.
Is that good enough?
Because I'm more worried about what it does to undermine the public service. Now, the question is, you can, in a democracy, you can do wholesale regime change like you do in the US when a new government comes in. They're political appointees. Even in Australia, there's a period of time where there's political appointments made early in a new government. I don't think New Zealanders want that. They like the idea of a politically neutral public service.
Didn't they do that?
Well, he's probably more talking about, when Trump came in, they were talking about these 5,000 government workers that Trump's now going to replace. I don't know. I mean, what they are doing is getting rid of people out of the public service. That probably forces managers within the public service to, by force, with their arm up their back, show them more loyalty for fear of losing their own jobs. But officially, they're not sacking people and replacing them with nationalites.
Political appointees, I'd say that guy Levy.
Within management.
Political appointee, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And we've hemorrhaged public sector workers with their big cuts. Yeah. And you've got to think, like, if you're a public servant and you can read the fucking tea leaves of what's coming from this government, that you're going to mainly cull a lot of lefties, right?
You would think so. That would be the target demographic to be gotten rid of.
So I think this is disingenuous. Like, he has culled a lot of people out of the public sector, and he has made political appointments to important positions.
Yeah, I agree with that. Important positions, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think every government does do that as well. Every government does do those. I was going to say the CEOs of the departments. No, that's not necessarily true. So and like, even if they were already there, like I think Margie Upper was already there for Te Whatu Ora. She very quickly snapped into line, didn't she? And that's why I'm saying I think they may have arm up the back forced loyalty through fear of get in line or get out sort of thing. It's my way or the highway. So that might be something that did happen. But,
I mean, I think when you look over a longer period of time, the sheer lack of leaking coming out of the public sector on average suggests that most people take that politically neutral stance very, very seriously. I know my friends that are public servants will even take that to the point of how they speak to me. Having officially
Chewy, we're off the record. Chewy, you can't say this. Chewy, you can't say this on your show. That kind of vibe?
Almost. Like, as an IRD worker, I can't possibly have an opinion. But I have heard people say, there's ways around it, and I'm not talking about anything serious. But what I am talking about here, when someone actually goes and drops something on the front desk of Radio New Zealand and goes, you guys should the public needs to know this. Like, that's, I think even calling it leaking is minimizing it. I would call it whistleblowing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Whistleblowing seen as good, leaking seen as bad. Where's the line? Now, you've mentioned RNZ. We're going to get to them in a sec. Let's just get the last 30 seconds of this.
I think we've got relatively few leaks. I know, it's frustrating when you see it, but the bottom line is, compared to the amount of work we're doing, I mean, we turned 52 bills into law last year in our first
52 bills into law. Just pause on that for a moment. That means they made one new law every single week. I don't know about you, Chewy, but I always find that the people who work fastest without thought or without, for example, regulatory impact always make the best policy. That's like those builders who don't work off plans. They always make the best houses, eh? Yeah, I always think they do.
This is why when people talk about speed in politics, it's like, well, have you done this fast or have you done this well? I mean, you can do something fast well, but I don't think that that's its natural state, right?
No, I agree.
To think of the loopholes and after effects and laws of unintended consequences, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how many under urgency? Absolutely.
Yeah, or under urgency and or fast tracked.
We turned 52 bills into law last year in our first part of the year. I mean, that's incredible. No one's done that for ages. We've done more work, I think, in half a term than people have done in 2 terms.
Passing more bills and doing more work are not necessarily the same thing. I would say that.
History. So, there's a lot of throughput going through, and I just think it's disappointing because it undermines the public service. And I think, that's a decision for Brian to get into.
Erica Stamp.
So
that's remarkable, hearing something that I've said once coming out of Luxon's mouth there.
Right.
I had a remarkable amount of throughput myself once after a dodgy curry.
And so this is on RNZ. This is from yesterday. And this is Kiwiana, classic Kiwiana. Crackdown on public service leaks is leaked to RNZ. It's just beautiful. A crackdown on public servants leaking information has been revealed in an email leaked to RNZ. RNZ has seen a copy of the email sent by department heads to staff outlining Public Service Commissioner Sir Brian Roche's warning against leaks of information. He is reminding us all our responsibility as public servants is that leaking information goes against the core values of the public service and must stop. If individuals within our employment feel strongly on issues, there are mechanisms they can use, but leaking of information isn't one of them, the message said. It urged staff who had concerns to take their worries to their boss or someone they trusted. What if the person they trusted happened to be a journalist at the Dom Post, so to speak? But yeah, it's so interesting that when you're in government, it's leak is bad. When you're in opposition, it's whistleblowers good. And I think it's a bit like, they talk about a freedom fighter depends on, if you're supporting them or against them, the difference between a freedom fighter and a terrorist. I think the difference between a whistleblower and a leaker is whether you're in government or out of government. But there does seem to be, and this is anecdotal, but certainly so early on, more leaks out of this government than in recent memory, if I put it that way, Chewy.
It's nice to know that someone is looking out for the public, though. That's an unusual feeling at the moment.
It's probably because they lost their Milo, didn't they? Or did they reinstate that? That's probably why.
Yeah, something like that. Like they would have been out in the tea room having a proper break, and they don't have that anymore. So now they just leak stuff to Radio NZ instead.
I do think it's the quintessential Kiwiana, isn't it? Though we were leaked an email about stop the leaking, please. It's like mwah, beautiful, a beautiful irony.
It's so good. It's so good.
Dark Raven, I guess we're still XP farming. Is that right? Did I say that right? XP farming?
Yeah.
Kiwi Bird says leaky Luxon. That sounds terrifying. Don't need to think about that anymore. Hadron says XP experimental research purposes. And Gold said, did the previous government had an issue with leakers? Yeah, I guess what I'm saying, Gold, and I'm not being very scientific. I could go and do the research, but it feels like from day one, like there was leaks out of the cabinet from day one. There was a couple of really big ones as well. I don't recall other governments of any kind of persuasion being so leak happy so early on. It does feel different. But then again, that could also be a bit like, summers used to be hotter and, whatever. They're not. But it might be that kind of vibe as well.
Is this surprising? Like, this is what I legitimately wonder whether Luxon's surprised about this. When they've torn through the public sector with a fucking harvesting machine getting rid of people. When there's been such a hard pivot and wholesale dumping of work done under the Labour government.
Right.
People's projects, the stuff that they've worked on, all of that sort of stuff. And just an overall hardening of the government, I guess. That the people left in the public sector just might not be vibing with it as much as the National Party caucus is patting themselves on the back and saying everything's great. Like my hat's off to these people for getting this information out to the public. Like I think it's important again that we don't have the media resources hunting out these stories that we used to.
True,
So
actually. Yeah.
maybe this is the only way that we are going to get that information, is if the media are literally CC'd in on an email.
Yeah. Well, in America, they do that with secret messages about war directly to journalists. So maybe this is the New Zealand version
Get the old group chat going.
of sticking where the Houthi are about to be bombed. Maybe, it's leaking to RNZ. So that means RNZ will be the journalist and I don't know who would be the Houthi. We'll talk about that another day. Yeah, interesting. Anything you want to mention in the chat before we keep on and moving?
Still lots of talk about the XP and the crowns and stuff like that. Don't worry, fam. I know it's pissing some of you off. We'll get rid of it. Bring everybody to equality.
So it says to me that it's a new thing that you can do on YouTube chat or YouTube comments, is it? And what I'm guessing is you're saying that I can turn it on or off in my system, can I?
I think so. Not during an active stream from the looks of it, but we'll try and kill it. We'll try and kill it from the chat.
Yeah, the thing is I don't set up the live streams from YouTube. I set them up from a third party app. So
it's a strange one. We will look into it. You are talking to two middle-aged men. It might take us a little while.
They're still going for it though. I mean, another one from Donna, $9. I mean, obviously you can see why they've done this. YouTube has done this so more people will give more money to basically go up a leaderboard. I don't think that's the style we go with, Whānau. We don't compete, do we, Chewy? We never compete.
No gods, no managers.
No competition.
In the YouTube chat.
Like me and Chewy have already talked about, if we win at the Radio Awards next week, we're going to say, no, thank you. We're going to turn it down. We don't compete. Chewy? Is that right?
No, I'm going to storm the stage. I'm going to list my ears of my list of grievances.
Speaking of next week, obviously Chewy and I will be in Auckland on Thursday. And I've just confirmed the Friday night team will be with you guys next Thursday night. But whatever happens on the Thursday night, and I'm being dead ass with you that I'm not expecting to get the nod. I think Nick and Nate and Nixon will get it. That's my gut. They're already my FM announcers, and I think that's where it will stick. That's where it will go to. But whatever happens, I'm sure we'll dial in Chewy on the Thursday night to the show. So,
you can't imagine that we won't.
So I think we'll be here on Thursday night for at least a catch up, and we'll see how that goes. That's next week though. And of course, remember Monday's a public holiday as well. It's King's birthday weekend. It still feels very wrong saying that, King's birthday. Not having Queen's Council anymore, King's Council. It's bizarre. But that's Monday, so there'll be no live show on Monday. There's a very good chance that there'll be a pre-record. I'm not going to commit to that right now because I have a lot of work on to do. But that means me and Chewy here Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Oh, and news, Chewy, I haven't even told you this yet. We have, people are getting annoyed when I lean away from the microphone, but I need to see my emails. There it is.
This is the content that's going to win us that award, I tell you what. I can't see my emails from across the room.
Marilyn Waring next Wednesday. Marilyn Waring, former national MP, who is doing the public committee, People's Committee. Committee? Whatever. And so she'll be joining us next Wednesday night. Can't bite. Right. Let's have a look at this because, beneficiaries, Chewy, have had it too damn good for too damn long. And anything in this country we can do to take those beneficiaries down a peg or two, I think we definitely should.
Back here, thousands of low-income households will be financially worse off next year as the government moves to change the decades-old rules regarding borders. The minister in charge, Louise Upston, says she's just fixing an anomaly, but the Greens say there's no justification for it. Here's senior political reporter Benedict Collins.
Don't you love that? just fixing a 30-plus year anomaly. It's just an anomaly. It should never have been like this for the past 30-plus years. And by the way, we're going to make $150 million out of it. I nearly messaged Ricardo today, but this is a great. You watch Ricardo Menendez March in the actual house. What he says, it's pretty funny.
In the 1990s, State House tenants got a tiny perk. They could take in 1 or 2 boarders to help out with costs and ensure empty rooms were utilised and authorities wouldn't factor in the income. Fast forward to today, and the government's saying no more.
We want to make sure that the welfare system is fairer and consistent.
Are you saying what to the change or what to that rule?
I'm saying what to the rule.
Yeah, that's
so
always been the
these
way.
are people that are living in public housing while we have a housing crisis, and the government is saying, no, don't house people in the public housing.
So there's several, we'll go through the whole thing, but there's several layers to this. Yes. So obviously the obvious question is and it's not just state tenants, it's any beneficiary really, who has a boarder doesn't get, because it's hard to go, well, if you're a boarder, that means you're doing meals as well, and electricity is one. So it's hard to get all those things. What is it exactly? So you can have boarders. So if they're not flatmates, if they're boarders, it doesn't come in. It's the same for IRD. It's not considered income for the IRD either. Now, they're going to take that away, and it's still unclear, is that going to come away from everybody? Like, will it start to be income for IRD as well? Or is it just from beneficiaries? Because she's talking about the welfare system here, which is a lovely Margaret Thatcher type phrase. But the flip side, Chewy, is people do this. They put themselves out. They make their living experience less comfortable for a small perk. If they don't have that perk anymore, 7,000 households might say to those boarders, yeah, no, we're not going to have boarders anymore. And then where are those 7,000 people going? Maybe more. Maybe it's more like 10,000 people, because you might have some of those houses might have 2 boarders. Where are those 10,000 people now going to go? So this government's decision is going to hurt the most vulnerable households in New Zealand, and possibly vulnerable people who, I mean, a boarder to a flatmate is very different. Often boarders are people who are they need to be a bit tighter with their money. It's a better deal to board and get your meals and stuff. So it could also impact them. It could be a really massively flow-on effect legislative change. And I think that's why Ricardo, let's just say, goes off his head a fair bit. Let's keep listening.
Soon all boarders' income will be taken into account before housing allowances are calculated.
Making it.
See, they've just said housing allowance. So they haven't actually said, and this is going to include house owners who have boarders, for income. So it might literally just be slamming beneficiaries who get a housing allowance, but leaving the wealthy homeowners who choose to have a boarder all alone. Unclear on that yet, but they're not talking about homeowners and income. They're talking about beneficiaries and housing allowances.
Fairer, so that all income is taken into consideration for housing assistance.
It saves the government $150 million over 4 years. But officials warned it will leave about 7,000 households who have a boarder and receive the accommodation supplement $100 a week worse off on average. And more than 6,000 in public housing will pay an extra $132 a week. That analysis sparking this onslaught.
There's only one way to explain the intent of this bill, and this is because Minister Louise Upson's heart is rotten to the core.
And he's not backing down.
How else can you explain taking away $100 on average each week from some of our poorest? There's no justification for this.
I'm more than happy to debate the policy, but I'm not going to stoop to levels of personal attack.
The Greens say it's the poor being attacked.
Would you rather have someone call you hurty words, or be a vulnerable person who's either losing $100 a week, or in the other instance paying an extra $132 a week? So this is either going to cause you $5,000 worth of hardship a year, or you're more worried about the hurty word that Ricardo just called you. You know, I think I know what I'd be more worried about, what I am more worried about.
Attacked.
The $100 may not mean a lot for a wealthy minister, but it's actually a lifeline for some of our poorest.
This youth advocate has grave concerns.
If you are receiving accommodation...
Can I just say, I was looking away from the screen when I watched this tonight, and I heard them say youth advocate, and I went, oh, it'll be Aaron. Looked at the screen, it's Aaron. He is their one-stop go-to youth advocate at the moment, which is great.
Yeah.
No problems.
Supplement. It means you're already struggling to be able to pay rent. It means that financially you're already in a really difficult position.
Fears this change could reduce the incentive for people to take in boarders.
Exactly.
One of the core places where young people find shelter at the moment is through boarding arrangements, and so this will have a huge impact on them.
Worried the removal of the border perk could fuel further homelessness when it comes into effect next year. Benedict Collins.
So let's smash those beneficiaries who are getting a housing allowance. Let's make it more likely that there won't be as many boarding opportunities for the people who are more likely struggling than not to have to be boarders, because boarders typically are living more inexpensively because food is included. And let's save $150 million. But we're going to call that making it fair for everyone on welfare, Chewy. That's what we're going to call it.
I am stunned at the meanness of this.
Yeah.
The clear swipe at people that, like, with everything else that is going on, with how much groceries cost at the moment, with how much power costs at the moment, all of that those sort of things, that these ghouls think that this is a good way to save $150 million. This is the easiest place that they can pick this up.
I wasn't watching. My camera just went crazy. Yeah, I mean, what else is it? I mean, every decision.
There's nowhere else.
Every decision these guys are making at the moment ends up with a line at the end that says which saved them X amount. So if every decision they're making has the tagline which saves them X amount, then what we're doing is we're figuring out they're doing this to save X amount.
And they're going to sit there and say, we're saving the taxpayer money. These people are taxpayers as well. This is what I don't understand. Right? Is they pay tax, they pay market rate, they don't get any deals on power or growth, or they're one of the tens and hundreds of thousands of people that are reduced to using food banks regularly.
Yeah.
And they're going to take a little bit of side income off them, which is going to affect what? They're not going to be able to pay their market rents to the government, or they're not going to be able to feed themselves properly, or that'll lead them to asking wins for more food vouchers or emergency help or that sort of, like, this government is so short-sighted, and it's just like, well, this is the situation as it stands here. We have found a way to be a bigger pack of cunts to people that can't defend themselves, so we're going to go that way. It's fairer for all New Zealanders. It's real funny when these guys want to save some money that they always go to the bad part of town.
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's National's fucking piggy bank right there.
Yeah.
Let's pop down to the State House area and fucking upend some beneficiaries. See what change falls out of it. The other side of town loves it when we do it.
Now,
fucking loves it.
They've talked about state houses there, right? But this is a benefit that everybody gets. You can be a millionaire, you can be a Luxon, and decide that your niece is going to come and live with you as a boarder because she's going to a local university, and she pays you $200 a week board, and that's tax free. That doesn't get included. IRD doesn't look at that as taxable income. So you can be a homeowner and do this. The flip side to that is there are beneficiaries, obviously, who own homes with mortgages. They need to pay them. They've talked about state housing tenants. I'm assuming, are you taking the screen off me, True? That's the screen that I've got up. Do you want it?
No, that's really strange. I was just queuing up an image and it did that.
There is, lost my train of thought. Who own beneficiaries who own homes as well. They can also use this. Now, what the story has said is state housing tenants. I'm actually assuming that it includes all beneficiaries, because that would be even stranger if just those in state houses got that cut off, but beneficiaries who are paying a mortgage were still able to do it. Or a beneficiary who lives in who rents a market rent 3-bedroom house and chooses to have 2 boarders. So it's a landlord's house, but they're renting it privately and paying. I'm assuming it's just going to be across all beneficiaries, because to do it any other way would seem even logistically harder. But then again, when is logistically harder stop this government doing anything horrific? You know?
It's just amazing how deep the government can reach into a beneficiary's life.
Yeah, it's true.
At almost a drop of a hat. And it might seem like a small thing, but for someone on a benefit, $100 gone a week, that's a big percentage of your weekly income.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I mean, like, my understanding, I've never been in one. My understanding is if you're in a state house, you pay a percentage of your income, and that's how they work out what it's going to be. And obviously that means you pay less rent, but then, like they said in the story, a little perk on the side would be you could have a boarder. So you're basically then becoming, your job, on some level, your job is to be I actually worked at a boarding school. They were called boarding masters, but as a boarding house operator on some level, in a very minor way, that becomes part of your job, and you get a little perk for it. This government seems to be the government of no perks, unless they're for the Prime Minister and what he's entitled to. He makes sure he gets. But anyone else getting a perk, especially a beneficiary or a lower income New Zealander or a brown New Zealander, those little perks or entitlements seem to be going away more and more and more, Chewy.
Yeah, this is just really disheartening to hear. Like every little pinprick idea from this pack of pricks seems to just be punching down. In the first instance, it is their first. It's their go-to. Like we haven't seen anybody clamping down on tax fraud. We haven't seen anybody going on a jihad against people that are skirting their obligations, again, at the top end of town.
Well, hang on a sec, because I think Rawari said on Tuesday night $7 billion a year is in legal tax not being paid. Do you think it's going to make them more money going out, affecting these 7,000 beneficiaries' households, or going, as you say, up the top end to try and refund $7 billion a year of tax not being paid? I know where I'd be looking. If it was a business, Mr. Luxon, hang on. If it was a business, Mr. Luxon, would you go after the 7 billion or the 70 million? What would you go after? Which client would you like, the 7 billion or the 70 million? Just putting it out there. Sorry, Chew.
They're all so scared to touch them. Now, the joke that has
what?
Been
to touch him. I don't think anyone wants to touch him.
Fuck's sake.
Oh my gosh, me at the same time. This is a good night. And it's a good night from me, and it's a good night from him. Hey, there I am. I'm back again in half screen. See what happens? Looks what we start going out. Chewy's not going to come back. You know what happens with Chewy. He disappears. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. I'm still here. Are you still there, Chewy? I'm still here. Oh, there I am.
I'm here now.
Yeah.
Is this is...
Turn your camera off so we can see your lovely icon. I was going to have a look. What was I going to have a look at? I was coming up here to have a look at something specific. I can't remember what it was. Anywho, it's me by myself again, and I was looking away. Hey, Whānau. Oh, look, you can see the whole set now because it's gone widescreen. So that's the TV I always look at. That's a 50-inch TV just there. There's the fridge back there, and there's another camera stand there, and there's my series of New York Radio Awards, and that's my London Radio Award, and that's my Australia Radio Award. Yeah, just stop it. Just stop it. Stop talking about it, guys. It's so embarrassing when you guys talk about that kind of stuff. Like I said, perks. That's where we went. It just seems so unfair. It seems so unfair that this government wants to. It's a little bit like Seymour and his race baiting, when he wants to make the whole world even, level, equal, based on race, but nothing else. It's like they pick out a group of people and they try and make it sound like they're making it fair for everyone, but they're really just screwing down one group of people. And as I said, Mr. Luxon, if you were running a business and you had the opportunity to make $7 billion, I'm probably even wrong with that estimation. Where's my phone? Come on, who's quicker than me? Because they said 7,000 households. Let's just get this right. Go away. Don't allow. 7,000 households. My brain's just not working quick enough. Is it 7 million? 700 million? 7,000 households. Only times 100. Oh, 700,000. Okay, that's nothing. So let's do this again, Mr. Luxon. If you had the possibility to bring some income into your business, and you could either bring in 700,000, right, or 7 billion, or even you're saying that you're going to save the country, the government, 150 million. Would you rather save 150 million or 7 billion? Oh, a week. Thanks, sexy. Yeah, of course. 700,000 a week. There we go. So that's 35 million. Yeah. Anyway. So why would the party of business not put all their time, effort, resource into recouping the 7 billion rather than hammering the most vulnerable and saving 150 million? Oh, hi, Chewy. Welcome back. Did you do a full restart?
I had to do a full restart. I love that our cameras died at the same time. That's a new and fun activity for the two of us.
Let's hope they're not watching from the awards, because that might cancel it for us. This is why we could never work with a mainstream media group, Chewy, because it would be like being shown on TVNZ on demand or something. We'd be going, fuck, shit, my camera, Chewy, where's your camera? No. So I think you're stuck with us, Whānau, here on YouTube and other things. Anyway, Chewy, I was just saying, from the party of business, if you had a chance to make 7 billion or 150 million, what would you do? Because they're going after the 150 million. God knows why.
It's even more than that. That's 150 million spread across how many people, right? So that's a hell of a lot of policing. That's a hell of a lot of people going around to see people. Oh, have you got a border? Are they hiding under the couch?
Well, they'll know.
Rather than going...
No, they'll know, because you have to list it. You have to say you've got a border. So you've got to declare you've got a border, but they don't charge you for it. So they'll already know. So as we've just worked out while you're away, $100 a week, 7,000 households, 700,000 a week, that's 35 million a year, which means that's their 150 million over 4 years. So they're losing 7 billion a year in tax fraud, or 35 million in this. Yeah. And these guys are spending their time focusing on 35 million for the year rather than the 7 billion. It just goes to show what all bullshit it is. It's just all bullshit. It's just all bullshit.
Well, look.
See ya.
Roll credits. I'll tell you what I did today, chat. I bought a Bullhorn. Do you have a Bullhorn? I think we should all. I bought a Bullhorn.
Why didn't you bring it to the room tonight? You could have shown it. You could have talked through it.
It hasn't arrived yet. I ordered it.
I'm sorry.
And it came from a place of jealousy. I've been jealous of the young lad from the Otago University Socialist Collective who's got a Bullhorn and uses it. I
thought it was because we talked to John Minto the other week and that got your fire going again. Is that what it was? Not at all.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah. No. I'm happy to do it. Look, it'll look good when I cover it in BHN stickers. It'll
the BHN Bullhorn.
But here's the best thing about the Bullhorn that I bought, because I bought a Bullhorn, is that it's not just Chewy powered. It's Bluetooth, and it can play stuff from an SD card. So I'm just saying we have the ability to download the words that the politicians have used.
Oh my gosh.
And fire them back at them when they break their promises. Or we can find somewhere where Brooke Van Velden is going to be, and we can use your favourite sound clip.
The one that she said, or the one that she said in the house. Obviously, I'm just firing up the cart wall because it wasn't fired up yet. Chewy. Would have been better if I could have just gone like this and pushed it, but
Yes.
I'm just firing up.
look-
You mean like this? Oh, that didn't work, did it? Because it's not too
let
like
down
this.
by the
We
tip
want a
again.
government that cares about how every single dollar is spent, because every single dollar the government spends is ultimately a dollar from your pocket.
Or,
I've got big people doing big jobs and big portfolios.
but I think you're meaning this one, isn't it?
Mr. Speaker, I'm a strong woman and I can speak for myself.
That one. I was thinking you're meaning the one
All
that's
of these.
the one that's on the ACT website at the moment. That's got the full C word delivered. It's the only place with it.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So it's, it's a lot of money, but it's needed.
Look, the money will be found because it has to be found.
The funniest thing would be to stand outside Parliament or something and protest and play this one. I think. Look, we were padding for a bit there. I think we're going to get back onto it and keep tracking now. Do you want to say anything to that last story before we move on? Because we were talking about...
But I am going to mention a breaking piece of news.
Is it the Aero one? No, is it real breaking news?
Yes. So it looks like...
Well, yeah, it's not breaking. That was featured pretty heavily on the news.
Oh, right. Well, I just saw it mentioned in the chat. It's breaking to me.
Yeah, okay. He was saving people who was there in a medical way, and really sadly and unfortunately, it's very graphic and horrific. So my apologies, but they talked this all through in one news. He had just saved some people or got some people back who needed a medical house. He was going back to get some more, and a drone flew over the top of him and dropped a grenade on him. And he's believed to be in enemy territory, and they are yet to recover his body. And again, some graphicness, people, but this is what his mother said on One News. She said something like, "My boy is in pieces in Ukraine," and she's just looking to get the body back, and that's how she referenced it. Apparently, it happened about a month ago, but it's just obviously coming up now.
Okay.
So
First
really,
I've seen of it, and
really sad.
Wow,
really sad.
Oh.
Okay, we're going to keep moving. Did you see Eru called out Seymour for a charity boxing? I did not see that. That has more chances of happening at that me having two moons in the backyard and one in the sky. Seymour saying that, it would imagine that would be the biggest pay-per-view.
David Seymour charity boxing.
$1,000 pay-per-view sign up, and they'd make a trillion. There you go, Luxon. We've just worked out how to fill their fiscal hole. David Seymour versus Eru Kapakingi on a pay-per-view. Done. Bill's doing a reverse auction for some reason. Now, I haven't followed Andor that much yet, so you might understand this one. Upson looks like Deidre from Andor.
Yeah.
Is that true?
That was the image that I was trying to put up that just crashed my computer.
And my camera.
Yeah. That's how bad a joke that is. But yes, she does look like Deidre from Andor. So
Breaking
she looks
news.
like a space fascist.
Luxon announces independent review into leak of the reports into whistleblower who leaked contents of the investigation into the leak of the crackdown on leaks. And this information has just been leaked to us, Chewy. Thanks, JC. We appreciate the leak. I am doing this for the love, not for the XP.
I mean,
MS. Yes.
Can on the topic of leaking, and Luxon going on that that dreadful podcast this week and talking about how he saved himself for his wedding night. The leak that the people want is Amanda Luxon talking about the amateur subpar diddling that she got on her wedding night.
I'm a little bit lost with what you're talking about, but I get the sense I do not want to go any deeper than whatever you just said. MSD borders a policy officially retired pensioners too. Ah, interesting. Yeah, how about that one, Chewy?
Oh.
How about a pensioner?
What?
Pensioner who's got a flat and they have their best mate in the other room as a boarder. Really interesting. Well, really terrifying, but that's a very interesting point as well, James.
That's some bullshit, man.
Yeah, that's some bullshit. Kiwi
Like,
Bird,
as
I
a
challenge.
taxpayer, I don't care. I don't care if beneficiaries have a fucking border in the state house that the public paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Want people in houses.
If you actually thought about it, it's actually a much better return on our investment, isn't it? Our investment into that state house, if it can help 3 people rather than 1, that's actually a better KPI, Mr. Luxon. Kiwi Bird challenges Louise to a charity boxing match. It's in the ballot. Losing 100 a week, 5,200 a year is about the same amount of money as the maximum accommodation supplement in Wellington City of 105 per week. Gold says, oh, thank God, it's very generous, $50 here. I'm a gamer. What is this XP thing? I am also very aware of the privilege I have that allows me to take part in this sort of super chat. You're very generous, Gold. Donna says, hi, I love you guys. Not trying to get, this is the third time, not trying to get XP, just technically challenged. Luxon needs to live on the streets to lose some weight. He is despicable. I like it how, speaking of boxing, Donna doesn't pull any punches. Arsehole, this has to be the most mean-spirited government ever. Andrew says, what? I was top 50 on a leaderboard I didn't know I was playing, and I wasted all my dollars drunk posting last night. Way to game the system, guys. Yeah, we did notice that, actually. Ella, disappearing host, LOL, call it a night. Oh, Ella, if we had seen that, we might have just bailed for the night. We've got a big story still to come. Super sticker from Dark Raven. Danger of Mouse, government gremlins are active, and finally go deeper. That again has an element of concern around that message.
As far as the meanest government ever, like, and I don't know if I'm looking at the past with rose-coloured glasses, tinted glasses, rosy glasses, rosé
glasses.
Key's government wasn't this bad, was it?
I don't get the sense. I mean, the classic example about mean governments was in the 1990s having cash registers in A&E departments. That's a classic example of it. Ruth, the mother of all budgeons, Ruth Richardson. So it would be interesting to do a bit of.
That's in my memory of a really mean government, and it seems like these guys are looking at that like that was the first iteration of the good ideas machine.
Yeah, we need to do better. And bigger,
faster, more.
Do you know who picks up on this stuff and comments on it very, very well? A certain one, Moana Maniapoto. So let's move. Moana, Tell with Moana this week. It's on Māori television, but I don't know if these are all going on Māori television or if they're doing some dedicated sort of online ones as well. So we've got a segment here that goes for 4 minutes talking about the RSB. They've done a little bit of a setup on it, and this is just where I'm choosing to pick up from because this is kind of when they get into the meaty stuff.
Imagine what human beings could do if they were free to do it for themselves without the politics and bureaucracy. And that's
it's funny how they need like taking borders, and like they never kind of consider that with issues that they think are woke. You know, we have to have lots of regulations around that. Any of those, no, those don't count. When we say freedom, we mean the freedoms that we agree with, not those other freedoms. They need to be squashed.
That's why the government that governs best is the government that governs less.
You didn't quite nail that, David. Why don't we give?
He didn't stick the landing, did he?
Didn't stick. We'll give you one more chance, Davey boy. Try and stick the landing this time.
For themselves without the politics and bureaucracy. And that's why the government that governs best is the government that governs less.
So what's wrong with that?
Well, if we think about many of the examples of when regulation was taken away,
yes,
we see lots of consequences.
Yes.
Leaky buildings, right? Which we're still...
It's so funny. It's exactly what we talked about last night, like the hairdressers thing. So what's going to happen? So there'll be some hairdressers out there that will stop cleaning their stuff as well because they now don't have to. They're not going to get checked up on it. The places that there are going to be some hairdressers and barbers that are either less hygienic or if they have a busy Friday and can't kind of get around to being as hygienic as they should be, they won't worry about it because there's no repercussions. It's exactly what happens when you get rid of regulations.
Consequences. Leaky buildings. Right? Which we're still dealing with in the schools and a whole pile of other places. Deaths in the forestry sector, mainly Māori deaths from not having proper health safety regulations there. Pike River, similar, not having inspections of mines, etc. Issues in the aged care homes. The finance company collapses because the finance companies could do what.
This sounds like a lovely future, doesn't it? With no regulation. Bring it on!
If they liked, and lots of people lost their pensions, funds and so on. And so we've seen what light-handed regulation actually means in practical terms. This government is talking in this mega sense about making that the norm.
But is there a middle ground that could be reached?
The problem is that ACT doesn't want a middle ground. ACT wants the end of the spectrum.
And this is exactly what we talked about last night, right? We were talking about, like we're talking about the health system. Can't we just can we get a bipartisan, sort of not centrist government, but like a middle part that we agree to in a bipartisan way? Yeah, and when you get in, you can stuff around the 10% around the edges, but you get one party like ACT who are like, it's my way or the highway. We've already heard from Chippy when he came on here that this government's idea of bipartisan is agree with us, and it can never happen. So even if one was going to be, what's the word, generous, and say, well, let's come to an agreement together. ACT's position is, no, we want it this way, and that's what we're seeing.
This is ACT's fourth attempt to pass a bill knocked back in 2007, 2011 and 2021.
So the only way they're getting it into Parliament this time is through the back door of the coalition agreement, where National agreed to allow this not just to be introduced, but the legislation to be passed.
How come it failed back then?
When they've tried to pass this before, there's been a huge resistance, even from some of their fellow travellers. And so submissions to select committees were overwhelmingly opposed to these, but so were positions taken by the likes of the Treasury. I understand in this regulatory standards bill at present, there are quite a lot of people from the business community who don't support it either.
The majority of the 23,000 submissions on last year's consultation document weren't read by the Ministry of Regulation before proposals on next steps were taken to Cabinet. Of those that were read, it was revealed that only 0.33% supported the bill.
Think about that, whānau. 0.33%. So if there's 23,000, what would that be? 10% would be 2,300. So 1% would be 230. So a third of that would be 80. So of the 23,000, there were 80 that supported it. That would be 0.33%.
It's great to see that percentage put up over an image of at least 44 people.
Yeah. And I guess this would be also a time, and I'm sure we'll put it up as we go through, and I'm sure Kiwi Skirt will as well, of reminding everybody to do a submission. I'm certainly going to do one. There's been some of these submissions this year that I have done, some that I haven't done, but I'll definitely be doing one on this, and I think everybody should. I've been corrected. Sorry, it's not 80, it's 86, says Kiwi B. I'm sorry for my live math working count.
Less than 0.5%.
The proposed bill would measure any new policy or regulations against a set of core principles. What impact will that have on Te Tiriti and on Māori influence?
Well, no surprise that amongst the principles that ACT has proposed, Te Tiriti does not appear.
Surprised.
Which means that it's not amongst the main criteria that would have to be considered when bringing a new regulation into play. But also, it proposes setting up a board to which those who don't like regulations could complain that those regulations are not consistent with ACT-style principles that are in the ACT. And so Māori are not only invisible in the criteria in those principles, but anything that is done in favour of Māori risks being brought to this board. And of course the board will be appointed by the Minister, who currently is David Seymour, and who can also issue guidelines about what does or doesn't come into the mix.
And of course, the very first person that will be appointed will be Richard Prebble. In fact, Rawiri this week was pretty clear that he believes he's left the Waitangi Tribunal so he can be appointed to this board, which also fills me with fear of the done deal or not Chewy. We hear New Zealand First was going to push back against some things. And look, honestly, if 1/3 of 1% of the people who submitted supported it last time, I suspect it'll be smaller, as hard as that sounds this time, because there does seem to be more of a fire this time around amongst the opponents to it. And if business isn't supporting it, and if the people aren't supporting it, and if Winston is kind of on it, if this does go through, this is not democracy. Whatever these fuckers say, and whatever they want to sell, and whatever they want to say about we have a mandate, this would be the opposite of democracy. Democracy doesn't mean you win enough seats and do whatever you want against the flow or the opinion of society. There can always be some things, 30-70, 60-40, but if it's less than 1% to more than 99%, and you guys choose to do it,
that's not
God help you all. God help you all. That's all I can say. You think you've seen trouble with protests and stuff in the first 18 months? God help you all.
Like, this government has powered through basically by going, well, we won the election and therefore it's a mandate to do whatever we want. But when there's abject proof in that, in the submissions from people that are motivated and care enough about this particular issue, like most bills that go to submission get a couple of hundred submissions from people that are heavily motivated, or it's the particular piece of law that is involved in their area of expertise or something like that. But the Treaties Principle Bill got a hell of a lot of play. And I think the feeling here from ACT is they put that up almost as a straw man.
Yeah.
To sort of go, well, everybody will do this.
Divert.
They'll think they'll have achieved something. It's not really what we're about, because this guy with the boring name is the play. But I think people have been activated to push back against the Treaties Principles Bill because it's such a terrible piece of legislation. And they've stayed active and interested in that because people picked up on this before the Treaties Principle Bill was finished. As it's like, guys, while I've got your attention, this is the one. So
and look, we didn't cover this very much in the kind of the 3 or 4 months previously, but it was being talked about. But then as soon as it's got close to, I think we've hit it at just the right time. Getting Tanya on, getting Te Pāti Māori on to talk about it at just the right time. And this is the thing, right? I got a message from someone the other day saying, if the interest rates for mortgages keep going down, this government will get in again, because that's all that will matter to a lot of people. I also just want to wonder something. If we have a country that can get 300,000 submissions into a bill that was, as far as we know, was never going to progress, get those protests in the street like we've seen, and if we do a similar one on these submissions, how the hell can they get enough numbers to get elected again? Like, I don't understand how 300,000 people can submit to a bill that they think is you're trying to change the cornerstone, the founding document, the Magna Carta of New Zealand, so to speak, and then those people not be as active to get to the polls in, let's be honest, 15, 16 months from now. It doesn't quite resonate with me. I don't quite understand it.
Like, I think I'm not rock solid on these numbers, but I remember seeing somewhere that it was something like 5,000 people that didn't vote. If they decide to vote, you've swung an election at that point. So how many people that were politically not engaged in the last election or the election before that or the election before that are now fired up and plugged in to push back against the Treaties Principle Bill, to push back against the RSB, that have maybe been activated by how fiery Te Pāti Māori or the Greens have been about this. How many of them are going to go into a voting booth next year and push back? Has this government's damn the torpedoes attitude, and the fact that National have gone so hard and have not been tempered by their coalition partners, but have more been turbocharged to do more quicker, has shocked people into going, well, fuck, I can't sit this one out. Maybe it is important that I vote. Maybe this is the conversation that we need to be having with people. Maybe this is the conversation that people in the chat need to be having with people around them. As I'm sure they already are. I think next election is really interesting, and the conversations that are going on around Labour, like our very own Emily put up an excellent thread on Blue Sky about this. That's kicking off a bit of a debate of what is a winning strategy for the opposition. Is it Chris Hipkins' plan to work the middle, or is it what someone like myself
it just sounds so wrong.
Well, that's what he's doing, right? He's working the middle.
Work the middle.
Work the middle. You're going to work the middle. Or is it what someone like me and Emily and so many of our chat want, which is Labour to go further left to become that workers' party that they're supposed to be?
But you know how they do that, eh? You know how they go further left? We have a big contingent.
They let the Greens do it.
They get a big contingency of Green votes and Te Pāti Māori votes. I've been, since our conversation, I'm like, well, imagine it was 10%, 10%, 30%. That's how you're going to pull Labour left. You're going to pull Labour left by the other two parties, just like the two smaller parties on the other side have pulled National right. Now, I feel quite confident and quite passionate about that, actually. And, you know, I don't know, Americans have all these names like leftist and progressive and, you know, whatever they call themselves. I don't know what I am. I sit on the left and I want the left to succeed, which means I want Labour to succeed. I want the Greens to succeed. I want Te Pāti Māori to succeed. But like you're just saying, Chewy, I want Labour to go a bit more to the left. And the way they get through a few of those more leftist, like the other side's got through a few more rightist policies, is to have a decent size Te Pāti Māori and Green Party. That's how you do it.
Are they going to do that with a leader that is saying the Greens budget is unrealistic and fairy tale stuff?
Well, I think you might have
are
seen
they
a
going
chat.
to do it when he's turning around to coalition partners and saying that they're stupid, or that maybe Te Pāti Māori should focus on Māori women rather than the song and dance around the Privileges Committee?
Yeah, I think you'll see a change. Like if anything,
hope so.
Well, if anything about Chippy, I think he's a smart politician. I think he's a smart operator. People out there will think he's not left enough for them, whatever. But I think that, and look, we said this to Barb the other night. We said, tell Chippy to stop shitting on his coalition partners. When he gets asked a question, and I don't know what it was, but the next time he spoke about something to do with the Greens, Te Pāti Māori, he was non-committal. Perfect. Be non-committal. I don't know. That's their problem. Go talk to them. I don't know. I mean, like, if we were to get in a position to negotiate a government, we'll have those conversations in. I don't really have an opinion on it now. I wouldn't be, okay, mark my word, right? If he starts doing that, you heard it here, and I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if those words are getting through to him, because what he did with the Greens budget ended up on ACT's social media. And how does that make you someone who wants to build a coalition on the left? How does that make you someone who is going to then be in a position to be Prime Minister? It doesn't. It basically just gives the red meat to the base of the other side, and it gets them to paint you in exactly the way they want to.
We know that the way that this coalition is behaving is going to piss off the more liberal side of the voting base that voted for National. Like the ones that are like, well, maybe we'll give them a go. We've had 2 terms of Labour, and I didn't like the lockdown, that second lockdown, very much, so I'm going to vote for National. Keep them honest. And they've got more than they ever thought or they've got, oh shit, this wasn't supposed to affect me. So maybe there is tactics in that. I can't say I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like I like Hipkins. I honestly do. I think he's been a good minister when he's been in charge of stuff. He's a likable guy. We've enjoyed having him here on the show, and here we are arguing about his tactics. He's the leader of the Labour Party. He's a former Prime Minister. He might know more.
You think?
But he's not going for my vote, and he's not going to get it. So, but like you said, I can say that, you know, I'm more or less in the bag for the Greens at this point. But the Greens aren't going to take the whole thing. I think in nobody's wildest dreams is that going to happen this time. Yeah. So we need Labour to win.
Yeah,
and
we
that's
need
where
Labour
that
to be,
comes from, is I'm like, I want more.
Yeah, we need them to be strong. Let's get on to the last part of this conversation, because the other thing that Moana talked about, or the article talked about, was the response in the House to the regulatory standards bill. This is only, I think, maybe 2 minutes. Maybe 2 minutes. Let's have a listen to this last bit.
Redacted.
According to the ACT National Coalition Agreement, the two parties agreed to legislate to improve the quality of regulation, ensuring that regulatory decisions are based on principles of good lawmaking and economic efficiency by passing the Regulatory Standards Bill as soon as practicable.
What a bunch of fucking word salad that is. I mean, honestly, we're going to legislate to improve regulation to make sure regulation decisions are based on good lawmaking and regulations. I mean, honestly, the waffleness of that is concerning, because, yes, Chewy.
This is why they didn't want or they wanted to change the plain language legislation, which is another bill that they got absolutely spanked on by the public. 93% of the public submissions were against them repealing the plain language bill.
Yeah.
It's because they talk like this.
They want to improve the quality of regulation to ensure that regulation principles are used in good lawmaking by passing a regulation bill. You know, it's like...
Regulation 3 times. Horrible.
Yeah, it's just what you can then do is read whatever you want into it. Sure, that sounds like, oh, well, yeah, we all agree that the quality of regulation we should have good quality regulation. What does that mean? Well, let's pass it first, and then we'll explain it.
By passing the Regulatory Standards Bill as soon as practicable. During its first reading, Labour, Te Pāti Māori and Green MPs were passionate in their strong opposition.
This bill has failed 3 times already because no one was careless enough to let it through.
National and New Zealand First MPs spoke for less than a minute each. Casey Costello from New Zealand First suggested the bill is open to challenge.
We look forward to the process of the Select Committee and scrutinising the work that will be undertaken on this bill, and therefore New Zealand First support the Regulatory Standards Bill.
Dan Bidwell from National quoted a philosopher who urged legislative caution and then said,
Mr. Speaker, it is with that scepticism that we support this bill in the House.
So, New Zealand First is saying we can push back against this. National is saying we're sceptical of this, and then they're both going, so let's pass it. You know, like, honestly, I'm starting to think that David Seymour has naked photos of Luxon. Certainly something more that he can use against him than just, you know, we'll overturn the election. Like, honestly, New Zealand First has said, don't know about this, let's pass it. National has said, don't know about this, let's pass it. What the fuck has Seymour got over them all? Like, honestly.
Yeah, well, this is the whole... We'll come back to something we've spoken to many, many times. This is... Gross. This is because Luxon is a poor negotiator.
Yeah.
It comes down to those initial coalition forming the government negotiations, and Luxon has let this and the Treaties Principle Bill through, two enormously dangerous, enormously divisive bills, because he wanted to be Prime Minister because he wants his knighthood. And this is part of it, right? It's part of the coalition agreement, so we've got to support it. Now, here's the thing that's catching me out, right, with that word salad that we read at the start. Treaties Principle Bill, part of the coalition agreement, was to support it to the first reading.
Yeah.
The wording on the other part was to support this all the way through.
As soon as practical.
Yeah. Which suggests to me, as much as these guys might be talking about skepticism and challenge, they have the votes to take this all the way through. Do they dare do that when they get flooded with submissions against it? And if it's anything like the Treaties Principle Bill, high quality submissions against it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a really interesting point.
Because if you get 300,000 submissions and like 98% of them are people arguing passionately from an informed position about how bad this is, and you go, well, that's great. Thanks for sending in a submission. We've spent a lot of money reading them all, and they're in the bin now. But because an agreement was made in a hotel conference hall 3 years ago, we're going to pass it. How angry would you be? How angry would the electorate be? You're going to lose that election, definitely. And you might be looking at some pretty major disorder before that.
I'm also thinking there's these big things that are coming up, and even some that have supposedly gone, like Smoke-Free 2025, gone as in they were yesterday's passing, but there's Smoke-Free 2025. There's the Treaty Principles Bill. There's this one. There's pay equity, and that with the People's Committee, these things aren't going to fall out of, how you were saying they front load all the bullshit? So then at the end of the election cycle, they can ignore it. They're not going to be ignorable. I mean, I hope that People's Committee goes for a year, so it's the middle of next year and they're coming out with their results. And then, of course, put the regulatory standards bill in there. If these things are kept in, like that's why, what did we talk to Clint about? We had a bit of a conversation and I had heard rumour about putting, it was the equal pay one, wasn't it? Trying to put it back to 2020 levels. There's this rumour going around Wellington about trying to go back to 2020 levels and getting it as a citizens initiated referenda, as a ballot on the election next year. So you'd go into the box and the first part of your ballot would be voting on these guys taking money off vulnerable women. That would be the first thing you do. And then you'd turn the page and then you'd vote for who you want to run the country. I mean, honestly, that would be the most incredible activism. I think that would be the cleverest, most impressive activism I've ever seen. An advert to remind you who these guys are in the polling booth. It would be unreal if that could get pulled off.
Yeah,
all right,
absolutely.
this has got 45. We'll get to the end of it.
And my message to the public is clear. Submit to the Finance and Select
So he's even saying, we're not that sure about this, so make sure you submit. It's bizarre.
Committee. I look forward to hearing your submissions. I commend this bill to the House.
While the bill passed its first reading, perhaps there are some principles at stake.
We often call this principles-based regulation. So it's setting up a regulatory framework for making regulation. But the regulatory framework is biased, and even that assumes that people will comply with it. And we have a saying in this area of academia that principles-based regulation only works if those implementing it have principles.
So there you go, Chewy. I feel like we've kind of talked that whole thing out. Should we go to some chat, or do you want to add anything more to it?
Yeah, no, I just the sinking feeling of doom, because I must admit, I thought the agreement was to support it to the first reading, much the same as the Treaty Principles Bill. But if it is indeed supporting it all the way through, that is very, very bad.
They're very different as well, eh?
Yeah.
Let's go to some chats. Aotearoa 2027 says Dreadnaused. Backdoor Luxon on these terms.
Oh, don't like
$2
that.
from Ella. Andrew says Actless are following the global plan to implement techno-feudalism. They are using the same agenda, same spin. It will have the same horrific outcomes. Seymour is a fascist, a danger to our democracy. F everything about him. They've tried to get this bill through since 2007. We were talking last night about why do we only have short-term solutions in this government. Sometimes they look long-term. I mean, that is 18 years that Seymour's been trying to get this. And I did have a thought. I don't have this knowledge yet. I might do some research over the weekend, but I just wonder how long Atlas has been involved. Because if this has been tried since 2007, that could be pre-Atlas intervention. And now Atlas is getting behind these, free speech unions and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I just thought because it's been going for so long, how much of this lays at the feet of Atlas or how much lays at the feet of just who ACT always have been. And it's a marriage made in hell, which is our version of heaven,
So one of the things I found really interesting about Mihi Forbes's documentary about Seymour and Atlas and that sort of thing is just how much ACT has changed under his leadership. Obviously started by Richard Prebble, and Richard Prebble is involved in some of these Atlas orgs and a big part of neoliberalism in New Zealand. But under his leadership and those that came after him, it was a much more narrow focus. And I guess that was reflected in their vote and all of that sort of thing. Under Seymour, as much as we shit on Seymour and as much as he deserves to be shit on until he dies, he has been devastatingly effective.
Yeah.
He's a dweeb. He's a goober. He's been on Dancing with the Stars. He's done the twerking. Hopefully he does the celebrity boxing and we see his noodle arms get pummeled into dust. But at the end of the day, he's weaponized an angry, disaffected part of the electorate.
Yeah.
Absolutely got them pulling in his direction on some really, really nasty pieces of work. And if he pulls this off, it's such a political coup, close to an actual coup.
Yeah.
That a party that pulls in such a minimal vote, 8% of the vote, gets to fundamentally reframe how legislation is implemented in this country, how regulations are developed and implemented in this country. That's terrifying. We can't underestimate him.
Yeah.
That goober persona is a persona. It's not. That's not the man.
It's either not the man or he has some very, very smart people behind him. So it's one of those two things, but you could be right. It could be that's the man. Arvid says smart. He got smashed in the last election. That's talking of Chippy. I don't necessarily think winning or losing election dictates smart or stupidness.
I don't think anybody could have won that election for Labour, to be honest.
No, but also, I'm happy to say, and we've said it to Chippy here on the show, they certainly made some mistakes. They obviously had some internal polling, internal workings where they thought, not going near a capital gains tax, etc., would be a positive. I think they got that wrong. And I think you'll see some of those changes. Each time we've talked to him since, he's gone, oh, well, you'll just have to wait and see. And what that means is, there's some changes on the way. Because if they don't want to be associated with anything, or they don't want a news cycle to focus on anything, they go, nope, we have no intention. There will be, I'm not going to even commit to being a definite CGT, but there's going to be some changes within the tax codes moving forward.
Chippy also wasn't at his best last election. He had a lot of good stuff going on in his personal life and that sort of thing as well in the run-up to that election, is my understanding. Look, Labour's doing a lot of wait and see. We're working on something. I hope they choose the right time to deploy that.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yep. No, I hear you. Dark Raven says Seymour makes my brain hurt every time he speaks. Dread says again, Seymour's got proof Luxon got a handy before marriage. That's what he's got on him. Fair enough. The Southern Moonlight. This could be Peter's remembering how to be wily. Let the bill almost go through, drop it at the last moment, ACT gets the blame if they quit over it. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, love him or hate him, most people here probably hate him. Peters is a pretty decent operative when it comes to politics. Random says, Luxon, Peters and Seymour definitely Dutch rudded. I don't know what that means. I'm from Chewy's direction. I don't want to know. Okay, Whānau, there's one very important thing I need everyone to be aware of. Why have I got 0 XP? I mean, honestly, how is it that I get 0 XP?
Because you're not in the chat.
Yeah,
That's
but
why.
0?
Yeah.
0.
Oh, Jesus Christ! What the fuck have you done?
0.
Yeah, you've got to post in the. We're getting rid of it, chat.
Where's Chewy? How many have you got, Chewy?
I had 75 last time I checked or something.
This is the first I've ever heard about this. I have no idea about whatever's going on.
It's distracting and people don't like it. And it will stratify the society that has evolved in our chat. And we cannot have that.
That's
comrades. We cannot have it.
Yeah. Just like we're going to give back our radio award next week, actually. We don't. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go up on stage and we're gonna tear it into thirds and give one to each of the finalists. That's the plan.
Oh, can we please recreate that scene from Mean Girls?
I haven't seen the movie, so you have to enlighten me.
You haven't seen Mean Girls?
No. One of those things I always should watch.
What the fuck? I'm like absolute peak Lindsay Lohan.
Yep, I know all that. I know all the references to it. I use it in common parlance. Never seen it. Never seen Titanic either. You seen Titanic?
Oh, I don't care about Titanic.
Yeah, you do.
You haven't seen
That's not what
Mean
you
Girls.
said. I remember when you were talking about going on the ferry across to the North Island, and you just wanted to do that at the front. You told me. What do you mean you don't care about Titanic?
Doesn't mean I haven't seen that. I've seen Titanic. I haven't seen Titanic.
Sure. That's it for us, team. Well, here we go. Someone just gave us some facts. Look at that. Atlas Act 2008 posting Discord in a minute. Yeah, well, he went to the Seymour went to the I think they officially call it the MBA. He got an MBA with Atlas or something. I think it was in 2008. So they've been around. But they've been around for a while. I was wondering how the timeline lined up with that trying to get passed since 2007. So yeah. Okay, team. Remember that this is the last time Chewy and I will speak to you about supporting Women's Refuge. If you want to do it, you can do it via our site, bhnshop.nz. Any hoodie gets a safe night, which I believe is there. Any t-shirt, any 2 t-shirts gets a safe night as well. Apart from fuck around, find out gear, that gets a safe night for a hoodie and for 2 t-shirts. And everyone that gets either a hoodie or a t-shirt until further notice will also get a 5-pack of fuck around find out t-shirts valued at $22.50. So basically, if you get a fuck around find out t-shirt in the next sort of 2 or 3 days, you get to give $20 to Women's Refuge and you get a $20 present on top. You should buy 2. They're so cheap, Chewy. They should buy 2 of them. And also remember, and I know that this is weird because it's a podcast and you would have heard it at the start, but we have a live audience as well. Friday, the 6th of June, 7 p.m. We have a meetup, in real life meetup in Auckland at the Long Room at 7 p.m. 114 Ponsonby Road, 7 p.m. Friday, the 6th of June. And the following weekend's both of our birthdays, Chewy?
Yep. Pat will also have an unmarked black bag stuffed full of stickers that you can buy.
Do you think we should? Or we could do like from the helicopter, drop them and...
Oh, the helicopter that we've got?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the big hairy chopper?
Yeah, the big hairy chopper. That's got the
That was
bullhorn.
supposed to be a secret. Thanks,
Aren't they delivering the
Patreons.
bullhorn?
Will I have my
bullhorn's coming on the
bullhorn
chopper.
before the awards next week?
Yeah, I
that's
think
the
that'd be
question you
great.
should be asking.
Should definitely walk into the awards with it and see what happens. Anyway, what are you going to wear? What are you going to wear? What are you going to wear, Chewy?
The question is,
wear
who am I wearing?
You're going to wear the suit that you wore when Chloe came on for the first time with that tie that's about that wide.
No, I'm not. I don't know. Is there a red camera photographer? Do I have to consider my angles?
No, there's going to be one. I'm not going to consider it. It's ridiculous.
Tuxedo jacket, shorts, and jandals.
I mean, Hoskins probably has his own camera team with him all the time anyway.
Hoskins is going to be there. That'll definitely need that bullhorn. Can you imagine? Because I imagine they will put the people from the actual proper radio industry at the front and the mouth-breathing, helmet-wearing window lickers from the podcasts at the back. So I will have my bullhorn and I'll just be going the whole time, Hoskins.
Yeah, I think Chewy thinks he's
Hoskins.
I think for some reason Chewy thinks he's going to get a chance to get up on stage. I don't do that. It's really weird. You don't even have to be there. They just announce it and then they move on to the next category. Everyone can actually watch it online. You can watch it online if you want. It'll be on there. So
I again cast a reference to Mean Girls. They weren't supposed to do a speech at the at the dance at the end, but they did, and it was a moving part.
It was really moving. I remember that. That's one of my favourite parts.
You said you haven't watched a movie. Are you lying?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have their hand out for rewards, while the many have to work out what they can afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war path to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All have a lean either this way or that, and will be analyzed by what Chewy and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed.
All right, Bright Hearing News, and tomorrow night, Emily and Magenta taking you through. Me and Chewy will see you Monday night. Oh no, we won't. We'll see, or you might see us if there's a best of. We'll see you Tuesday night. Have a day off on Monday night, team. It's a public holiday. Go and do something kingly.
The king says that you should do some anti-monarchy activities.
There you go. So we'll catch you live from next Tuesday night again at 9 p.m. That's it for me, Chewy. Do you want to tell anyone to go sign up or do submissions or anything?
You should do a submission right now if you haven't. Or if you have, help someone else do theirs.
I am wondering why I see this every single night. Do you have any idea? Over Red Radio? Like every single night I see that. I don't understand that either. I don't know what's going on. Do you have any idea?
It's an official. You need to be in the government.
Oh, okay. Very good. Appreciate that. All right, team. We'll catch you Tuesday. Kids are in tomorrow night from 9. We'll see you Wednesday. Have a safe weekend. Hooroo.
Cheers, fam.